Hi, first graders. You guys have been doing an awesome job retelling this week. Today, we're going to practice retelling another story by Kevin Hankins. Remember, when we're retelling, we can use our hand to help us remember what we need to talk about. Remember, we've got to talk about the characters. Those are the people who the story is about, or the animals, or the things. We have to make sure that we talk about the setting. And the setting is where the story happens. We also have to make sure we're talking about the beginning of our story, and that we're talking about the middle of our story, and we're telling the most important things that happened at the end of our story, okay? So we have to remember the most important things that happened at the beginning, middle, and end. So today we're going to read Sheila Ray the Brave by Kevin Hankins. Sheila Ray wasn't afraid of anything. She wasn't afraid of the dark. She wasn't afraid of thunder and lightning. And she wasn't afraid of the big black dog at the end of the block. At dinner, Sheila Ray made believe that the cherries in her fruit cocktail were the eyes of dead bears, and she ate 5 of them. At school, Sheila Ray giggled when the principal walked by. And when her classmates Wendell stole her jump rope during recess, Sheila Ray tied him up until the bell rang. "I am very brave," Sheila Ray said, patting herself on the back. Sheila Ray stepped on every crack in the sidewalk. When her sister Lois said there was a monster in her closet, Sheila Ray attacked it. And she rode her bicycle with no-handed, with her eyes closed. Yeah, Sheila Ray, her friends yelled, clapping their hands. One day, Sheila Ray decided to walk home from school a new way. Lois was afraid. "You're too brave for me," said Lois. "You're always such a scaredy cat," Sheila Ray called. "I'm not," Lois whispered. Sheila Ray started off skipping. "I am brave," she sang. "I am fearless." She stepped on every crack. She walked backwards with her eyes closed. She growled at stray dogs and showed her teeth to stray cats. And she pretended that the trees were evil creatures. She climbed up them and broke their fingers off. Snap, snap, snap. Sheila Ray walked and walked. She turned corners. She crossed streets. it suddenly occurred to Sheila Ray that nothing looked familiar. Sheila Ray heard frightening noises. They sounded worse than thunder. She thought horrible thoughts. They were worse than anything she had ever imagined. I am brave, Sheila Ray tried to convince herself. I am fearless. The sounds became more frightening. The thoughts became more horrible. Sheila Ray sat down on a crack and cried. Help! She sniffled. She thought of her mother and her father and of Louise. Mother! Father! Louise! She cried. Here I am, a voice said. Louise! Sheila Ray hugged her sister. We're lost, Sheila Ray said. No, we're not, said Louise. I know the way home. Follow me. Louise stepped on every crack. She walked backwards with her eyes closed. She growled at stray dogs and bared her teeth at stray cats. And she pretended that the trees were evil creatures. She jumped up and broke their fingers off. Snap, snap, snap. Sheila Ray walked quietly behind her. They walked and walked. They crossed streets. They turned corners. Soon, their house could be seen between the trees. Sheila Ray grabbed Louise and dashed up the street. When they reached their own yard and the gate was closed behind them, Sheila Ray said, Louise, you are brave. You are fearless. We both are, said Louise. And they walked backwards into their house with their eyes closed. All right, guys. Who wants to tell me the characters in Sheila Ray the Brave? You're right. The characters are Sheila Ray and Louise. Very good. Who wants to tell me the setting? Where does the story happen? Yeah, boys and girls, this story happens at their home, at school, and walking from school to home. Very good. Who wants to tell me, boys and girls, what happens at the beginning of Sheila Ray the Brave? Tell me what happens at the beginning of the story. Very good. Boys and girls, at the beginning of the story, it started off with telling you how brave Sheila Ray was. Sheila Ray believed that she was the bravest. She would fight monsters in the closets. She tied up her classmate at school, and she wasn't scared of anything. What happened in the middle of her story? In the middle of the story. You're right. In the middle of the story, Sheila Ray decided that she wanted to walk home a new way. And then, when she's walking home her new way, she gets lost. And she sits down and starts to cry. What happens at the end of our story? Very good. At the end of our story, when Sheila Ray is crying, she cries for Louise, her little sister. And Louise saves the day. Louise was hiding in a tree, and she jumps down and she leads Sheila Ray back home. And once they got back home, Sheila Ray said, "Louise, you are brave. You are fearless." And Louise said, "We both are." I hope you guys enjoyed Sheila Ray the Brave. Great retelling, friends.